Hey everyone, are you ready for a deep dive into a film that's equal parts haunting and unforgettable? We're talking about Inner Senses, a 2002 Hong Kong psychological thriller.
And it really dives into those inner fears, doesn't it? The original Chinese title, Kuye, actually translates to different dimension space.
Oh wow, so it's playing with those ideas of what's real and what's in our minds. I love that. So, Inner Senses, it follows this woman, Zhang Xin, who starts seeing these, well, ghostly figures.
It's interesting because it touches on that universal fear of the unknown, right? The things we can't explain. And imagine going through that alone, because in the film, it gets so bad that her boyfriend actually leaves her.
Wow, talk about adding insult to injury.
Yeah.
So she's left feeling isolated, terrified, and that's when she turns to, let me guess, a psychiatrist.
Exactly. Dr. Jim Law, and this is where the legendary Leslie Chung comes in. His portrayal of Dr. Law is just captivating.
It's even more poignant because this was his final film role before, well,
It does add a certain weight to the performance, knowing that. For those who might not be familiar, Leslie Chung was a huge star in Hong Kong, known for his music, his acting, a true icon.
his loss was deeply felt by so many. So we're dealing with a film that has this incredible psychological thriller aspect, and it stars this beloved actor in his final role. But what did the critics think? Was it any good?
Well, we can turn to Douban for that, which is like, if you can imagine, Rotten Tomatoes, but for everything.
Yeah.
Films, books, even local restaurants. It's where Chinese audiences go to share their opinions.
A gold mine of opinions. All right, so what's the verdict on Inner Senses?
It's sitting pretty at a 7.5 rating, and this is based on over 100,000 user ratings.
So it definitely resonated with people. That's a lot of viewers. And award nominations, too.
It was nominated for several awards, both at the Taipei Golden Horse Film Festival and the Hong Kong Film Awards. And of course, Leslie Chung's performance earned him a Best Actor nomination.
Okay, so we've got a critically acclaimed psychological thriller starring a legend in his last role. This is definitely a film that deserves a closer look, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And what makes it even more interesting are the different ways people reacted to it.
We dove into some of the Dubon reviews, and I have to say, they were all over the place. Some people found it deeply unsettling, while others were completely captivated by Leslie Chung's performance.
It's interesting, isn't it, how a film can resonate so differently with viewers, especially when it comes to a genre like psychological thriller. Some are drawn to the chills and jump scares, while others are looking for something more.
Speaking of which, I found a review that really captures that deeper impact. One user wrote, "This movie messed with my head so badly I couldn't sleep for a week."
That's the sign of a truly effective psychological thriller, wouldn't you say? It's not just about superficial scares. It's about getting under your skin and making you question your own perceptions.
Absolutely. And then there's this other review that focuses on the cinematography and visual style. They said, the use of shadows and reflections in this film is masterful. It creates such an eerie and unsettling atmosphere.
That's director La Chi-Long for you.
Hmm.
He's known for his meticulous attention to detail and his ability to create a palpable sense of dread through visuals alone.
It sounds like he really knows how to build suspense and keep the audience on the edge of their seats.
Precisely. And what makes Inner Senses even more compelling is how it delves into the cultural context of Hong Kong at the time.
Oh, how so? Tell me more about that.
Well, the film was released in 2002, just a few years after Hong Kong's handover from British to Chinese rule. There was a lot of uncertainty and anxiety in the air, a sense of shifting identities, and a fear of the unknown.
Wow, I can see how those themes of uncertainty and fear would resonate even more strongly against that historical backdrop.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons why Inner Senses continues to resonate with audiences today, even those who may not be familiar with Hong Kong's history. It taps into these universal anxieties about what's real, what's imagined, and the fine line between the two.
And let's not forget the double meaning of the title, Inner Senses versus different dimension space. It makes you wonder, are these ghostly visions real, or are they manifestations of Zhang Xin's inner turmoil?
That ambiguity is what makes the film so captivating. It's open to interpretation, and each viewer can take away their own understanding of what's truly happening.
It's like the film is holding up a mirror to our own psyches, forcing us to confront the shadows lurking within. It's almost like, the scariest ghosts are the ones we carry inside, right? Our own
Right.
fears and anxieties.
Exactly, and Inner Senses does a brilliant job of blurring that line between what's real and what's imagined, what's internal versus external.
And knowing this was Leslie Chung's final film, it just adds another layer, doesn't it? He was so open about his own personal struggles, and it makes his performance as this psychiatrist dealing with his own demons all the more powerful.
It's impossible to separate the art from the artist in this case, and I think that's part of what makes Inner Senses so haunting.
Hmm.
His performance has this rawness, this vulnerability that is just so compelling to watch.
Definitely makes you think about the film long after it's over. So for our listeners who are now intrigued, maybe even a little terrified, what would you recommend? Dive right in.
Absolutely. Go in blind. The less you know, the better, trust me. Let the atmosphere, the visuals, the story all wash over you.
And maybe sleep with the lights on, just kidding. But seriously, this film gets under your skin.
It does.
Yeah.
And it stays with you. Inner Senses is a reminder that sometimes the things that haunt us the most are the ones we create within ourselves.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this. If your fears could take physical form, would you have the courage to confront them? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Inner Senses. Until next time, keep exploring the hidden corners of cinema.